Right now on Our Indiana.
We look back at some top plays made over the year.
And the coveted Little 500 race wrapped up during the weekend with some more than predictable winners. Hello everyone and welcome to the last edition of Our Indiana this semester. I'm Jordan Burrows.
And I'm Nicole Christine. Today we begin the show with an announcement of a generous donation to the university. Last Wednesday was IU Day and one famous family showed their Hoosier spirit through a huge gift. Kaylin Jackson, IU alum and daughter of Colts owner Jim Irsay, made a donation that will support the IU Athletics Excellence Academy being built in the south end zone of Memorial Stadium. Part of the facility will be named the Irsay Family Wellness Clinic, which will support the physical and mental well-being of the over 600 varsity student athletes at IU. The groundbreaking ceremony is set for later this month.
The Indiana baseball team squared off against a Michigan team with an extremely potent offense, and they were trying to bring the brooms out. In the first two games, IU came away with a W against the 13th ranked Wolverines. But in the third game of the series at Ray Fisher Stadium, the Hoosiers couldn't complete the sweep and lost 12-5. Sophomore Luke Miller of Indiana had 4 hits in the series along with 6 RBIs. The Hoosiers finished the series with 32 hits against Michigan and moved up to 6th place in the Big Ten standings. Indiana has its next game at Victory Field home to the Indianapolis Indians. There the Hoosiers will battle it out tomorrow evening with in-state rival Ball State.
This weekend, IU softball struck a hot streak, completing its first season sweep over the visiting Maryland Terrapins. Friday's doubleheader featured 2 complete game outings from sophomore Terra trainer and redshirt freshman Emily Kirk, with final scores of 2-1 and 5-0. Junior Taylor Uden scored both of the Hoosiers' runs in the first game, 2 more in the second, and went 2 for 4 at the plate Sunday. In that outing, the Hoosiers secured their sweep with a walk-off single from junior Rebecca Blitz and once again saw a strong performance in the circle by Trainer.
I always feel like it comes and it goes before the blink of an eye, but the greatest college weekend just wrapped up at Indiana University, the Little 500. This weekend, men and women competed in a race around Bill Armstrong Stadium to take home the title of Little 500 champion. I won't be the first to say it or the last, but Little 500 truly is a spectacle in bike racing. And to get a better in-depth look at Little 500, our Indiana's Peter Balsam has the ins, the outs, and the results of the Little 500.
With finals beginning to loom its ugly head, IU students, staff, alumni, and fans look ahead to the event of the year. A legacy, tradition, and experience entitled the Little 500. This year marks the 67th running for the men's and 30th for the women's. But what is the Little 500?
The Little 500 originated in 1951 was the first race, and it was started by Howdy Wilcox, who actually saw students racing around what used to be Hickory Hall, a student dorm. So we saw these students racing around, students were out hanging out of the windows cheering for them, and thought, wow, this is a really cool idea for having a bike race. So he put together the IU Student Foundation, and their main task was raising money for student scholarships. So they put the first race on in 1951. And all the proceeds went to student scholarships.
And the Little 500 is not just about the bikes. There's more to it.
Ticket sales from the Little 500 go directly back into student scholarships, which is why we do this, is for the students. But to put this on, we've been working all week to hang up hip boards, make sure all these tents are in order. Everything that you see here at this track was put on by students who are gunning to be on steering committee. We have an entire committee of students that put on the pre-race ceremonies as well, which you'll see. We've got skydivers coming in, we've got Olympians are here as our grand marshals and VIPs, and then we also have performances by student groups on campus that are going to be singing Back Home Again in Indiana and our fight song. And of course, everybody cool that means something to IU is here as well. So it's a really special tradition here at Indiana University.
And with the ceremonies complete, the 32 teams take to the starting line for their pace lap. Right as some rain began to fall into the track, so did the green flag. Throughout the race, the riders need to be aware of the various flags that could be used throughout the race.
Of course, this is a green. This will start the race, and it will start after every yellow to know that the track is up and clear. The yellow flag will be thrown in case of impediment or an accident on the track. At that point, everyone has to keep their distance from the leader. The black flag is thrown in case there's a penalty called by the chief steward. The blue with the orange diagonal is an advisory flag to people. Ladies, please pay attention. That tells you if you have people coming up from behind. The red flag immediately stops the race. The white flag signifies the last lap of the race. Ladies, we all know what this is. Keep your heads up, pay attention, ride hard, and Godspeed. Best of luck.
As the race progressed, various riders swap out in a manner similar to that of a baton race. Usually they end up swapping the same bike, or other times they swap out for a new bike. These swaps can be very tricky, as the bikers are tired from their performance, but the race can be dangerous too. On lap 35, there was an 8-team crash. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries aside from one bike. In the women's race, they performed 100 laps. And on Friday, it was Kappa Alpha Theta that took the checkered flag for the 7th time in the race history. Kappa Alpha Theta raised their trophy to a welcoming crowd and then took their victory lap. Then on Saturday, the fans filmed Armstrong Stadium for the men's. The men's repeated much of the same warm-ups that the women's did the day prior. The only difference really being that this time there were 33 teams, and there was a chilly air in the wind, but it didn't stop the fans from coming out to support their team.
As an alum now, I can kind of look more objectively across the whole field. Obviously, I have a horse in the race with my team SAE, but it'll be interesting to watch it, but not be able to really affect it. So it might even be a little more nerve-wracking this year.
Once more, the ceremonies were complete, and the green flag is dropped. But this time, a yellow flag was quickly thrown up as the first crash happened, but it would not be the last for the day. Riders swapped out their bikes and pedaled themselves through exhaustion for the next 2 hours. Then came the final lap, and the stadium filled with thunderous shouts as they cheered for their team. It was close, but it was the Black Key Bulls that pulled out the victory and raised both their trophy and bike before taking their victory lap. And for those looking to join in the Little 500 in the future, Andrew has some words of wisdom.
If you are willing to put in the work, you can be a great Little 5 rider. I know people that have come from all different backgrounds. I didn't start riding until I was in college, so anyone can do it. It's fun, great community, and it was the best decision of my 4 years here.
But for the 65 teams that took to the track over the 2 days, they gained the recognition and the respect of IU.
Here at the Little 500, I'm Peter Balsam with Our Indiana.
Coming up on Our Indiana, we have a special 3v3 on Cream vs. Crimson.
And we sit down with a Little 500 champion.
Hi, I'm Sage Steele of ESPN. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Indiana University.
Welcome back to Our Indiana. Nicole has to step out for a quick wardrobe change, but she'll be right back. The school year's almost over, and along the way, IU Athletics has had some incredible moments. In a special edition of Cream vs. Crimson, Our Indiana's Brad Davis and Joe DiBenedetto square off to see who picked the best moments, and Nicole will be the judge.
Thanks, Jordan, and welcome to our final segment of Cream vs. Crimson. What a year it has been for IU Athletics. There most certainly have been many ups and there have been some downs, but through it all, there have been some absolutely spectacular plays during the 2016-17 season. Join with me now is Brad Davis and Joe DiBenedetto. Brad and Joe will be debating what their top plays were from the year. So, Brad, we'll let you start off with yours.
Thanks, Nicole. So, my first play comes from the basketball season when the Hoosiers played and beat the eventual national champion Tar Heels. I think it's safe to say the basketball season peaked maybe in this moment. Little defense turned into offense. Nice pickpocket by Rob Johnson right into the hands of Newkirk, who then threw a nice lob to OG, who finished it off. My next play comes from this football season and the foot of Griffin Oaks. While Michigan State finished the year at 3-9, after Oaks put this game-winning field goal through the uprights, it gave Indiana their first win against a ranked Big Ten team in over a decade. Not only that, but I think it's a really nice moment for a guy like Oaks who had a pretty up and down year. And for my last selection, I went to the Diamond. Now, this was only a couple weeks ago, but I think it definitely deserves mention. In the 5th inning, the Hoosiers drove in 9 runs. 4 of those came off this grand slam by Matt Lloyd, his 2nd of the year.
All right, those are some pretty solid picks. What do you have for us, Joe?
All right, so we start in at number 3 with the women's basketball team. Down 3 with 3 seconds remaining, the Hoosiers dished the ball to Amanda Cahill, who buried a triple with 0.6 seconds left on the clock to force overtime. It took 2 overtimes for the Hoosiers, who were once down 7, to take over and defeat the Hawkeyes 80-77. My second play of the year comes also from the Assembly Hall when it was senior night for the men's basketball team. With 1.5 seconds left in the half and up 7 against Northwestern, freshman Devontae Green took the rebound and the bank was open. Green drained his second half-court shot of the season, a nearly impossible shot for most. And finally, my top plays of the year came again on the hardwood in a triple overtime thriller. It was Josh Newkirk's coming out party, hitting a buzzer beater layup to force the 3rd overtime. With a career-high 27 points, it's safe to say there was ice in his veins. Nicole, what are your thoughts?
All right, so I've been taking some mental notes during those. They were all great plays, but I have to say that I think, with the situation, the Hoosiers were the underdog in all of these situations. The, momentum that they built from these plays, I'm going to have to go with Brad's picks.
Thank you, Nicole. I completely agree. I'm sorry, Joe, but I don't know. I just have a knack for picking great plays.
I would like to respectfully disagree. Ice in his veins, Josh Newkirk, that was crazy, crazy games. I'd like a recount on votes, please.
All right, well, maybe we'll have time for that later. But as of right now, that has been our final segment of Cream vs. Crimson. Thanks for tuning in.
Looks like you had some fun there. I didn't know you were studying to be a ref. I thought you were studying sports journalism.
Yeah, you never know. You have to have a backup plan.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was a tough choice, but it was definitely really fun. And now it is time to sit down for this week's Who's That Hoosier?
And today, Tyler Sorg has the honor to talk with Little 500 champion Xavier Martinez.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to Who's That Hoosier? I'm Tyler Sorg. Today I'm joined by sophomore Xavier Martinez of the Little 500 champion Black Key Bulls. Xavier, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So take me back to the moment when you realized you were going to be a Little 500 champion. What was running through your head?
A ton of emotions. Looking back at the race, I can hardly kind of think through. I only did 3 sets during the race. I did about 40 laps. I can remember about 0 of them. Just there's so much adrenaline and so much. It's a great environment with all the fans and everything, but I think the moment I realized it was junior Kevin Mangle. He was coming through with the white flags. There was 1 lap left, and seeing that Cutters and Grey Goat, who were the next 2 teams, weren't even on the same straightaway as us. That's when it kind of sunk in, because it would take something like a crash to happen, and Kevin's a great bike handler, so we kind of knew that was going to happen. And just senior Charlie Hammond came up, gave me a big hug, and we were trying to just contain ourselves. But at that, it started to sink in. And at this point, it's still kind of surreal. So.
And something I'm always interested in learning about riders is how they got into the sport. So how did you get into it?
I started cycling as cross-training for running because I was a runner in high school. From Bloomington, I went to Bloomington South. I ran the mile and track mostly. And after I kind of decided that I didn't want to run in college, after kind of turning down that opportunity, I looked at ways to still kind of have that athletic challenge and still be on a team, which is what I loved about track so much. And I was already coming to IU, so I thought about doing the run club because they're a great program. But then nothing stands out more than Little 5 because it's so unique, and it was a new challenge for me personally. So that's what drew me to it. And BKB had won in 2014, and I was graduating in 2015. So I was like, might as well go to the most recent best team there is, which is BKB.
So what really drew you to BKB? What made you want to be a part of the team? You said the win, but what does it really mean to be a Black Key Bull?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to clear. I didn't just go to them because they won. There's a lot more to a team than just success. But I rode with a couple different teams. With BKB, it really just kind of clicked. I connected with them on a very personal level. A lot of them were runners in high school who kind of were transitioning the same way that I was and had experience. And they were great guys, and they flat out told me, it's like we're not going after people we're not going after the best bike riders. We're going after the best people off the bike. And that really just spoke to me. And after riding with a couple other teams, I just kept wanting to ride with BKB more. Like, nothing against those other teams, but just I was just drawn to BKB, and I couldn't be happier with the decision I made.
And something I'm always interested in learning about riders as well is all the training and hard work that goes into it. So could you tell me really when you guys start training for the next race and what all goes into that?
Yeah, so every race is in April, obviously, and so after the race, we'll probably take some time off, and into the summer, we don't have a strict training plan. It's just, ride when you can. We tell a lot of the first-year riders, rookies, ride as much as you can over the summer, because that will really help you come the fall. Because when we hit the fall, we do have a regular training plan with, X amount of workouts a week, X amount of miles a week, this amount of lifting, this amount of riding. Some people do yoga, some people do swimming, like all sorts of things. But being on BKB training-wise, I would say we definitely are considered on the higher end of training to a lot of Little 5 teams. We do about 15 to 18 hours a week, all things considered, which I think a lot of people see as a lot for one race where, like I said, I did 40 laps, which is about 10 miles. So.
And you guys are only going to lose one senior of your 4-man team this year, Charlie Hammond. What has he really meant to you guys? Charlie's a great guy. He's been a fantastic leader, and winning with him was a perfect way to end it with Charlie, because he was the first Black Key Bull that I ever met, first BKB that I ever rode with, and on that first ride with him, he looked at me and he was like, yeah, one of the great things about being on BKB is, you and I have the potential of, racing together and winning together. And so actually doing that was incredible. But he is a great role model for people on the team, being able to balance the amount of training he does and, his great success in school, and, just being a good role model and a fantastic leader, not just on the bike, but off the bike as well. If you have any issues, you can always just go talk to Charlie. So like I said, you guys will return 3 out of your 4 riders next year. What will it take to repeat as champions?
Just hard work. I think a lot of people, when you win, you can kind of sit back and be like, oh, okay, we won, like that's enough. But, the 3 of us are hungry again to do it, because we lose Charlie, who is one of our strongest riders. But we're a deep team, so we're able to reload. And so coming back next year, we're going to trust in Jordan Bailey, who writes our training plan. We're going to trust in Ryan Knapp, who coaches us, and then I think the rest will fall into place.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's edition of Who's That Hoosier. Thank you again for joining us, Xavier. Back to you guys at the desk.
The inaugural season of Our Indiana may be close to over, but this show's not done yet.
After the break, we'll wrap up with a look ahead to what is left in the remaining week of IU athletics competition.
I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Indiana University.
Welcome back to Our Indiana.
Before we sign off here, let's do the final countdown for IU athletics. Amanda Keith joins us now with all the details.
Thanks, Jordan. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. The men's tennis team conclude their season on Thursday as they start into the Big Ten championships. With an overall record of 13-12 and a conference record of 4-7, the Hoosiers are not the favorite to win, but they will have an opportunity to prove critics wrong. They will first face off against Minnesota, who they just lost a close one to on Sunday. It should be a tight game, so be sure to tune in and catch the action. The men's baseball team have a while to better their conference record of 8-6-1, just in time for the Big Ten tournament. Among the Big Ten tournament, they will also have the NCAA Regionals, NCAA Super Regionals, and the College World Series if they can qualify. The softball team will travel to Ann Arbor, Michigan to compete in the Big Ten tournament. The tournament will take place this week, the weekend of May 11th. Details are still to be announced, but a conference record of 8-9 will have the Hoosiers still competitive in this tournament. The men's and women's track and field team will also have their time in the tournament season. Starting May 12th, however, it is highly possible that they will have athletes eligible to compete in the USA TF Junior and Senior Championships in Sacramento, California. Athletes who will compete are still to be announced. And as always, you can find the results of your Hoosiers games and meets at iuhoosiers.com. Be sure to keep up with your Hoosiers performances throughout the rest of their seasons. That's all I have for you this week. Back to you guys at the desk.
All right, well, I think it's time for our final send-off. I know that, for myself as a senior, this show was like a culmination of my time reporting at IU, and to be able to be a part of this team has taught me so much, and I am so thankful. And I will never forget this studio, this crew, and I will always be an Indiana Hoosier.
That is so sweet, Nicole. We'll miss you over here at our Indiana. For me as a junior, I'll still have another year. But for our Indiana, you've seen me as an anchor, as a reporter, a host, and a guest at Cream Be Crimson. Also, I was the first one to fast forward for IU Athletics, but I could not be more thankful for your viewership and your critiques and praise of our Indiana. I was able to work with some of the brightest and most diligent people with our Indiana. I cannot wait to see and hear about all the good things and creative things our Indiana will be able to do in the future. But for now, for the last time, with a smile on my face, I say goodbye. For Nicole Christine, I'm Jordan Burroughs. Thanks for watching, and go have yourself a great night.